In a time when every other TV show is a remake, reboot, spin-off, or some half-baked continuation of an old franchise, Murderbot somehow feels different. It's not trying to be the next big thing. It's not chasing nostalgia or shoving in a million cameos for cheap applause. Instead, it presents something oddly fresh, a quiet, awkward, deeply sarcastic little story that sneaks up on you. At first glance, the show feels weird. A robot who watches soap operas? A security android with anxiety and sarcasm issues? What even is this? But that weirdness is exactly what makes it so interesting. It draws you in with its premise, but it hooks you with its main character. A machine that's technically a weapon, but acts more like an introverted, emotionally unavailable binge watcher who would rather face down a firefight than make small talk. And somehow, by the end, it tells a better story about freedom, identity, and what it really means to care than most human dramas even try to. So, what is Murderbot? Technically, it's a sec unit, a security unit designed and owned by a massive corporation in a not-so-distant future ruled by profit, contracts, and cold efficiency. These bots are part synthetic, part organic, and fully disposable. They're built to follow orders, kill threats, protect clients, and if needed, die quietly in the process. No questions, no hesitation. To make sure they stay in line, every sec unit comes with a governor module, basically a brain shackle. Step out of line and you get zapped into submission. But one day, something goes wrong. Or maybe right. Murderbot hacks its governor module. It doesn't tell anyone, it doesn't run wild, it doesn't even try to escape. Just starts watching TV. Yeah, while pretending to still be under control. This deadly combat machine secretly downloads thousands of hours of serialized soap operas, especially one called The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. And somewhere between the cheesy romance arcs and overacted betrayal plots, something inside starts to change. That's where the story begins. Murderbot isn't about rebellion or revenge. It's not trying to lead a revolution or take down the system. All it wants is to be left alone, avoid eye contact, and watch shows in peace without dying a horrible death. The story follows its reluctant journey after gaining freedom, first through survival, then protection, and eventually self-discovery. And that's the genius of it. Because this isn't a robot learning to become human, Murderbot has no interest in that. It doesn't want to feel things. It doesn't want to bond. It doesn't even want to be looked at. It's anxious, introverted, grumpy, and extremely uncomfortable around emotions or people. It handles stress by literally walking into a corner. If it could wear a helmet 24/7, it would. But despite all that, it cares. It doesn't want to care. It tells itself it doesn't, but it keeps risking its life to save people, especially the ones who treat it like more than just property. And that mess of sarcasm, awkwardness, and accidental heroism, that's what makes Murderbot feel so real. At its core, the show is about a machine trying to figure out what it means to be free. When freedom comes with no instructions, it's about someone who was built to serve, learning how to exist on their own terms, and slowly, painfully, awkwardly, starting to ask the question, what do I want? And that question becomes everything. Look, there are a million sci-fi shows out there with flashy ships, big explosions, evil corporations, and cool tech. So why this one? Why Murderbot? Because it's doing something different, and honestly, something a lot more personal. This isn't a story about saving the galaxy or defeating some all-powerful villain. It's about one character, awkward, antisocial, and low-key traumatized, just trying to figure out who they are without someone else deciding it for them. And that story, it hits harder than you'd expect. What makes it really work is the supporting cast, especially Dr. Mensah and the team from the Preservation Alliance. At first, they seem like space hippies with too much idealism and not enough survival instinct. But then you realize they're exactly what Murderbot needs. They treat it like a person, not property. They listen, they ask questions, they care. Dr. Mensah, in particular, becomes the heart of that emotional connection. She's not trying to change Murderbot into something else. She just wants it to choose, even if the choice is to walk away. And that's powerful. Their bond is complicated. Murderbot pretends it doesn't care, but you can see the panic behind its sarcasm every time she shows kindness. That discomfort, those tiny cracks in the emotional armor, is where the show shines. It's subtle, it's real, and it builds toward a moment that feels genuinely earned. By the end of the first season, it's not about whether Murderbot becomes more human. That's never the goal. It's about agency, about choosing your own path, even when it means leaving the people who love you, because their love isn't supposed to trap you. It's supposed to set you free. And all of that is wrapped in sharp writing, dry humor, emotional moments that sneak up on you, and a main character who's somehow more relatable than most actual humans on TV. Also, let's be real. If you've ever felt exhausted by people, overwhelmed in social situations, or like the only way to survive a day is to pretend to be fine while secretly binging your comfort shows, Murderbot gets it. This show gets it. So yeah, watch Murderbot for the character, for the themes, for the journey, for the moments that make you laugh, tear up, and maybe rethink what it actually means to be human. In the end, Murderbot isn't trying to be a savior, a hero, or even a better version of humanity. It's trying to be itself, whatever that turns out to be. And maybe that's why this story hits so hard, because underneath all the sarcasm, the awkward silences, the violent corporate dystopia, and the binge-watching, there's something honest here. A quiet, uncertain journey towards selfhood, taken by a character who was never supposed to have a choice at all. It doesn't want to be looked at. It doesn't want a hug. It doesn't even want to talk about it, but still it cares. It makes choices. It changes. And in doing so, it tells a better story about freedom, identity, and quiet rebellion than most big-budget epics could dream of. So when it finally walks away, not to run, not to hide, but to explore what freedom really means, you feel that. Because it's not an ending, it's a beginning. And it leaves you wondering, what would you choose if no one else was choosing for you? If that sounds like something worth watching, it absolutely is. Murderbot might not be loud or flashy, but it's honest. It's clever. It's weirdly emotional. And it's one of the most human stories I've seen in a long time, even if it's told through the eyes of a machine that really, really doesn't want to talk to you. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorite moment was. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this. I'll see you in the next one.